Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. Back today to talk about my autumn favourites. Normally this is a booktube channel and so I primarily talk about books, but this is my video every season to talk about some of the non-bookish things that I've been really enjoying. Though as I say, being a booktube channel, I do always like to talk about books first. And so I have to say my favourite book that I have read between September to November was the long-awaited retelling of the Odyssey by Stephen Fry. I knew I was going to love this and yet still was so delighted when this completely met my expectations. I love Stephen Fry's Greek myth retellings. I just find him so funny. I love the wit and the humour that he infuses in his books. How petty he can make the heroes and the gods. And especially I had a lot of expectations on this because Odysseus is my favourite of the Greek heroes. I know everybody tells me that's a terrible choice, but I can't help it. And I just thought he was portrayed so well in this. So sneaky, so devious, just what I want in an Odysseus betrayal. I listened to this via audiobook as I have done for all of Stephen Fry's Greek myth retellings because it is Stephen Fry who narrates it and it just feels like you are coming home whenever I hear an audiobook narrated by Stephen Fry. And by the end of this, when we get to the afterword and he's talking about the process of writing the book, I'm not gonna lie to you, I just started feeling emotional because I think this is the last of his Greek myth retellings. I was just so sad to see it done. And now moving on to the non-bookish favourites. I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of these are actually products. You might be able to tell from the madness that is my hair that recently I have been trying the curly girl method, or like an adapted version of the curly girl method on my hair. A few weeks ago I posted an Instagram story which looks like this. My hair was looking like this. This is generally what my hair had always used to look like when it was drying, where I haven't been doing anything to actively encourage curls, so I've not been scrunching it, but also I haven't been doing anything to kind of make it dry straight, because all of my life I have tried to make my hair straight. If I've not been using straighteners, then I've at least been brushing it down, and my hair just has never been fully straight. Within about 5 minutes of straightening my hair, it will go from this to starting to do that, starting to add a lot of volume that was not meant to be there, having if not a curl then definitely a bit of a wave to it. And I'd posted this story saying, you know, one of these days I will commit to doing the curly girl method, but I have a fear of commitment and today is not that day. And I was inundated with friends who do the curly girl method who were like, no Charlotte, you should try it. Here's a long list of recommendations and tips. And then I remember the week later I had straightened my hair, I'd gone to my rehearsal, and one of my friends who, as far as I know, hadn't seen this Instagram story, just out of the blue was like, so Charlotte, have you ever tried the curly girl method? Because let's face it, your hair isn't actually straight. And I was like, maybe this is the motivation that I need to try and adapt some sort of curly girl method into my hair drying. And the main reason I hadn't done it is because I was kind of afraid of the in-between phase and I just didn't want my hair to look super messy. But this is around about my 4th wash, and while I don't think it's perfect, and you know, when I woke up this morning and took my hair down, I did look a bit like Isaac Newton. You know, definitely the first wash is looking a little bit spaniely, and I can't tell you what's going on here. But it's a weird thing, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I actually look like myself, even though myself has never looked like this. It just feels like my hair was always meant to have a bit of texture to it and I've just not let it do it. It's still very much trial and error, so I'm definitely keen for any advice that you can give, and especially advice for what to do on days where you're not washing your hair, how to keep it all fresh and neat. But what I can tell you is what I'm using at the moment. So I will get out the shower, I will try and wring as much water out of my hair, and then I start with products to moisturize and hydrate my hair, and then I go into the styling stuff. So I have this Aussie Hair Rescue all-in-one oil that I apply to the ends of my hair, as well as the Aussie Work That Curl cream, which is a leave-in conditioner. Everything that I've been reading said that you really should be using a leave-in conditioner if you are trying to do curly or wavy hair, because especially using gels and mousses can really dry it out. And then because I can't quite work out what I prefer, I've been testing out both a scrunching jelly and a curl mousse. Both of these are from Umberto Giannini. So I have the scrunching jelly, which my friend Kate had recommended. I wasn't sure how well this was holding the curl, so I did also pick up a mousse to try out, because during show week, whenever I've been curling my hair for shows, I've tended to use mousse in my hair and it's kept the style pretty well. So at the moment I'm using like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and this is the result. But if you think I should use one or the other, let me know. And this is the Curl Whip Curl Activating Mousse. Then I have been plopping it in a t-shirt rather than using my normal hair towel, leaving that up for about half an hour and then letting it air dry. I don't typically use a hairdryer on my hair just so I can minimize how much heat I'm using, so I'm very used to air drying. However, I am finding that my hair is taking a lot longer to dry, probably because I'm not keeping it up in a towel. So at some point I might want to invest in a diffuser to put at the end of the hairdryer. I then have been sleeping in a little cap. I was using one of these even when I was trying to keep my hair straight because I just find that this minimizes how frizzy my hair ends up being in the morning, because I toss and turn all night long. long. So yeah, definitely if you can get a cap, especially if it's got like silky material inside, definitely recommend that. And yes, wearing this I look so attractive when I'm going to bed. I tend to look a little bit like Draco Malfoy in his wizard hat at the end of Philosopher's Stone. It's a real look, but I make it work. And then in the morning to neaten my hair, I use this product, which I've been using when my hair is straight and now when it's a bit more wavy, the Schwarzkopf Bonacure Fibre Force Fortifying Sealer. This is something that my hairdresser has always used on my hair and I find it really good for taming flyaways. It's not specifically made for curly hair, so if you've got any other recommendations, let me know. And then I picked up a curl reviving spray on the recommendation of one of my friends, and I'm still not sure that I have gotten the hang of how these work. I don't know, just the idea of making my hair damp just makes me think that the curl is going to drop, but so many people recommend that you use one of these, dampen your hair and then scrunch it up, and I'm just afraid that it's going to make it messy again. So I'm not sure, but give me a bit of a pep talk. Tell me how I should be using this. And yeah, this is the result so far. This is my hair after I've washed it last night. And as I say, I'm enjoying it so far. The one thing I haven't quite worked out is what to do with it on camera, because I'm so used to pulling all of my hair to this side, but now it feels like there's just way too much hair just because it's more voluminous. So I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Anyway, moving away from the hair products, I also have some makeup bits that I've been really enjoying because it's autumn. I've been trying to do a little bit more when it comes to eyeshadow. Not today, actually, I've done a pretty simple look, but I ended up picking up a little Urban Decay palette. I saw that they had brought out the reissue of the Naked palette and I got very excited because that is such a nostalgic makeup product for me and I haven't owned it for years. But then when I really sat and thought about it, I decided not to pick it up for myself. I just thought it was going to be a little bit too warm toned for the kind of makeup I like to wear now. But I did want to get something that was kind of autumnal, and so I picked up the Urban Decay Naked Sin palette. These are just little mini eyeshadow palettes, and I thought this would be like a nice little day-to-day autumnal eyeshadow palette. As it is the Sin palette, it does include the champagne coloured Sin, which was my most used colour in the Naked palette, so I'm very glad to have an extra of it. But then we've also got these kind of like cinnamony rusty colours, which I just put in the corner of my eye and makes it just look that little bit more autumnal. This was also a favourite either in my spring or summer favourites, but I wanted to also give another shout out to the Natasha Denona palette, the I Need a Nude palette, because I've been using even more of this and particularly tapping into some of these shimmery shades. It's just once again been a really, really lovely neutral eyeshadow palette. And I will say, having used the Natasha Denona, the quality on Urban Decay just seems not quite as good as it was when I was a teenager. But you know, between the two of them, I get a nice little neutral look. Makes me feel real pretty. And then my final little makeup favourite is one that I picked up when I was going to Dublin. I was really trying to reduce how much stuff I brought with me, and so I kind of went a little bit wild on the makeup and skincare sample sizes and minis. And while I was doing that, I came across this little Benefit highlighter. This is the Benefit mini highlighter in Dandelion Twinkle, and it is a very, very subtle, not super shimmery highlighter. It just gives a really natural kind of glow. Like, it is not too iridescent at all, but it looks really, really natural on the cheeks. Just for comparison, in terms of iridescence, here is the Dandelion highlighter and here is the Jouer Citrine highlighter. As you can see, this is a lot more subtle, kind of barely there. And you know, it really does depend on my mood. Sometimes I do just want my highlighter to be really obvious, but sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I want something that looks like it could be my skin. And this has been absolutely doing the job. Finally, onto some non-beauty favourites. I have been absolutely adoring this new hot chocolate from Whittards, which I hope is still available. And it is their apple strudel hot chocolate. I am such a sucker for a white hot chocolate. And so when I saw they had an autumnal flavour, I had to snap it up. I wasn't sure what I was going to make of it because I thought, you know, white hot chocolate and apple, that doesn't sound like a combination that should go together, but oh my god. It is appley, it is spicy, it tastes like a pastry. Like, I think I'm gonna actually have to make myself some of this hot chocolate when I finish filming. Me and my mum were in Whittards a couple of weeks ago to go see Devil Wears Prada, and I dragged her into the shop because they had these as testers, and she was pretty skeptical, and even she enjoyed it. And then I also have a candle favourite. Now, because of my contract, my tenancy agreement, I actually can't burn this, and I'm not going to. But with this candle, you actually don't need to. You just need to have it open like this. And here's my proof for my landlords. I am not burning this candle, I am just using it for the smell. But just having this open for like half an hour or so, my entire room just smells like vanilla and spices. Sorry, this is the Anthropology Pumpkin and Sweet Vanilla Spice. And normally I would not pay Anthropology prices for candles, but back at the end of August, beginning of September, when they started bringing out all of their autumn bits, I was in the Anthropology on Regent Street and I walked into the shop and immediately my nose just started going like And I followed my nose around the shop and I was like, what is that? What is that? And I realised I was being led to this candle. And I was like, if that's what it smells like from all the way over on the other side of the shop, then how great is this going to smell in my room? As I say, I'm going to have to wait until I go back to my parents' house to be able to burn it. But for now, this is just making my room smell delightful. Now, I'm actually filming this video a little bit earlier than I would normally. I'm filming it on Thursday, the 21st of November, which means that at time of filming, I haven't gone to see the Wicked movie yet. I am going to see it first thing after work tomorrow, and I am so excited. And I will be really, really surprised if this isn't a favourite for autumn. I have been a massive, massive fan of Wicked since I was 12 years old. I always credit this musical as being the musical that got me into musical theatre. You know, I always loved musical films. I grew up watching Annie and Oliver and all of the Disney films, but I remember so clearly the first time that I discovered Wicked. My sister had gone to see it with all of her friends, and she burned me a CD and I listened to it. And from the first moment that I listened to it, I fell in love. It was the first show that I ever saw in the West End when I was 13. And from then on until the end of high school, me and my mum would go to London every Easter and we would always see 2 shows. And one of those shows was always Wicked. It just has such a special place in my heart. And ever since I've been a fan of the show, there have been talks about there being a movie. I remember when the rumour was that it was going to be in 2012. And I remember thinking at the time, oh my goodness, that's such a long time to have to wait for a film. Little did we know. But yeah, I've been waiting 17 years for this film, so I am just so very excited. I was a little bit skeptical at first, but everything that I've seen of it so far has just been so delightful. Also, something that arrived today, I made a little bit of an impulse purchase, but I regret nothing. I have a little Funko Pop of Glinda. It's good to see me, isn't it? No need to respond. That was rhetorical. It does remain to be seen if I get an Elphaba one, but I'm quite tempted. I don't have them to show you right now, but I've also picked up the M&S Christmas tree decorations that are Elphaba and Glinda. I'll show you those at Christmas. You don't need to see this right now. Oh, I'm so excited. So I hope that after all of this gushing about Wicked and how excited I am for the film, that I actually do end up liking the film. But oh my god, it's going to feel so cathartic to watch this film. After all the waiting, after all the hoping, here it is. So there we go. Those are all of the things that I've been loving, and one thing that I'm hoping very much that I love. Do let me know about any of your autumn favourites, things that have been really bringing you happiness in September, October, November. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.